This is my 240SX S14. Over the course of the last year and a half, I've been dialing the aesthetics of the car as well as those beautiful rice pipes. But there's one area where the build is lacking, and that is power. After purchasing the vehicle, I swapped the transmission to a manual using all eBay parts. And while the car was up on the jack stands, I decided to weld the diff. What teenager would not want an S chassis with a welded diff? That truly is a beautiful thing. I drove the car here and there for a couple months, and everything was reliable, everything was great. The KA just wasn't keeping up. I've had zero issues with the KA in this car. It's completely bone stock, and it's been incredibly reliable, but it just needs more power. The problem with having a welded diff, a massive tire, and low power. We need to imagine this as a love triangle. We have power at the top, we have welded diff to the right, and we have contact patch to the left. These three things do not combine well. You either need a welded diff and low contact patch, or you need a big tire and a lot of power. A welded diff and a high contact patch will just break. And unfortunately, that's what happened to me. I've been drifting the car around having a great time either in the rain or on my drift spares. But trying to launch the car on 285 Falcon Azena R comps is just not going to happen. And unfortunately, I learned that lesson the hard way. You see, on my way to a rigorous workout at Gold's Gym, I decided to engage in a legal street race with a Ford F-150 EcoBoost. And embarrassingly, he completely walked me, but I wasn't going to give up there. So I went first, second, third, fourth, all the way through the gears, and I hear a massive explosion behind the car. It sounded like a 30-06 going off in my rear seat. I immediately shift into neutral and coast into a brand new development with perfect, unmolested concrete, as I watch the fluid completely drain out of my differential with a massive hole in it. The lesson to be learned here is stop being a ricer. No one likes ricers, but I'm sure that guy in the F-150 had a great time watching me coast off the road with my hazards on. So maybe it's not so bad after all.
Alright, this is the just in case angle.
Just in case. Sorry, I'm not getting those crisp fix angles. I smell something. I don't know if that's... No! Are you kidding me? That is so bad. That is a chunk of metal right there. It looks like steel wool. Mind you, the car's at a slight incline right now, but we should have something coming out. Okay, well, it's all over my arm and my head. That is so bad. Alright, it is the moment of truth. The trusty welded pocket knife coming in handy again. Actually, okay, one thing. The case is cracked right here. Alright. Case is cracked there. And obviously we have our hole. Alright. One thing I did notice, this diff is welded and they spin opposite directions. So I know the welds broke. Now, this is the first. Okay, not too bad. Let's set that right there. Where did the chunk go? Let's take a look at the chunk. Oh, that's Bondo. I don't know where the chunk is. I saw like an immense amount of steel wool looking stuff in here. So I need to try and wedge it up. Let me get some wedge material quick. I'll put you on the Koki wing. Oh yeah. Jeez, man. Holy. Problem 100% the welds broke. You can see the tacks in the corner. But you can see the chunk it took out of the metal. So it's not even like the welds are bad. I just don't even know what happened. It like chipped the gear. Alright, let's try and spin this over all the... No? It's not even gonna spin over all the way? Oh boy, there's some sledge in there. Okay. You're not going to be able to see it because of the lighting, but there is an immense amount of material down there. Like, look at this. That is that a tack? That's a piece of weld. There's just shavings everywhere. Dude. That is not optimal. I guess let's just pull this apart, clean it real good, try and weld it again. I don't know what my course of action is here because I cannot find another diff. I cannot find one. And I'd like to drive this car. As I said, I don't have much longer with it. So I'm thinking I just re-weld it. Send it? At this very moment, it may become apparent that our protagonist has quite an issue on his hands. Unfortunately, 240SX diffs are not the strongest things in the world. When they're welded properly, they can be reliable with the K series for sure. s14, easy peasy. But once you get beyond that point, you're going to have to upgrade to a 300ZX Z32 diff or a Q45 diff, 350Z diff, something like that. So you're going to have to swap it out for a later model of the differential. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm just some cheap redneck who doesn't want to spend any money on my car and rather flex seal it together. You're not wrong. See, even if I repair the differential now, we're still going to have a problem in the fact that once this car is engine swapped, it's going to be making well over 3 times the amount of horsepower it currently makes to the wheels. And the combination of a destroyed differential and that immense amount of power is not going to end well. But as I mentioned, it's near impossible to find a differential for one of these right now. In an act of pure desperation, we'll be repairing the differential with Flex Seal. Alright, so here's the magic sauce. Super strong bond, works underwater, instant grab and hold, Flex Glue from Phil Swift. You can see Phil Swift approved right here. Now this is our patch panel, this is our hole. I've ground down both surfaces. I did forge this a little bit, I heated it up, got all the grease off, believe it or not. The reason it's this color is because PCV, emissions, oil and intake, engine go boom. Save the environment though. I heated it up and whacked it against a rock a couple times to get this excellent texture and shape. And now let's just give her a good old rip, bud. We do have a little crack here as well, so I'm thinking I'm just gonna lather it on there. On the inside you can see all the grind marks from the unfortunate incident of shrapnel going absolutely everywhere. So let me not turn on the grinder while I'm resting my arm on it. That would not be optimal. I don't know if I do the smear technique or the dab, like a weld kind of dab puddle technique, but we're gonna give it a shot. Oh, it's not mixed. Oh, that's a rip. I spent a solid 60 Dogecoin on this overpriced Culk. I'd expect it to at least be pre-mixed. Alright, and for this hole, we are just gonna lay it on there. Nice windmill, kind of swoop technique here. Boom, look at that, that's beautiful. Gonna apply some to this as well. Make sure it's nice and sealed up.
Thank you for offering to lend me your car.
Look at that. Man, Phil Swift, you got some good cream here, bud. So I'd say we do another coat on the outside here. Now, I'm not entirely sure if the welds that are in there right now are going to hold, so I'm really not getting my hopes up too much because it's highly likely, because of how damaged the ring gear is inside, it also could just explode again, in which I wasted my 60 Dogecoin on this tube of Flex Seal. That would be very unfortunate because we all know Doge is going to the moon. And as an early investor, I'm currently up 6,200%. So I really don't want to just let this stuff go at the moment, you know what I mean? I guess sometimes in life it pays off to be a gamer. There we go. Bada bang, bada boom. Now it's not the prettiest thing, but all things considered, that is not looking too bad. So ultimately the condition of the diff case is not that big of a deal. I could easily order a high capacity diff cover online, you know, a couple $100, call it a day, bada bing, bada boom. But the problem is deeper. You see, every single gear in the entire differential has been damaged. Some gears are worse than others, but every gear has been damaged in some form or fashion. When the gears are spinning at thousands of RPM and they have massive chunks out of them, you may have some slight reliability issues. But I'm going to pretend I do not know this information because ignorance is bliss. After a short lunch break, I cleaned out the differential and re-welded it. We've installed it in the car, and it's time to take it for its first test drive.
Okay, so it's been 4 days since I've like sealed the diff, maybe 5. I just did a 3rd gear pull. I didn't hear any noise like last time when the welded diff exploded. It sounded like a gunshot. But I just did like a 3rd gear pull, and it smells like gear oil. I'm hoping it's just my brain messing with me a little bit, but this is not the optimal situation right here. I mean, it feels fine, I think. That's what, like 5,000 RPM in 4th gear. Probably like 80 miles an hour.
All right, I just got home. Let's check her out real quick. Okay, there's no trail. Okay, I don't see anything. So I think we're actually good. Like, believe it or not. Oh.
Seal is revolutionary!